Hey everybody, welcome back to another movie review. Hope you guys enjoyed the content on this channel as of late. We're here for another review for a feature film this time, no reactions. Um, and I was gonna, like I said, I'm not doing a review for the Ghostbusters movie. I just have no desire to see it. I heard it was fine. It was more nostalgia than anything else. So I have no desire to see it. Never really was a Ghostbusters fan to begin with, so yeah, so I have no desire to really see it. Maybe I'll see it, maybe I won't with like cousins that are in town right now, but on my own I just have no care for it. Um so yeah, no review for Ghostbusters, at least as of right now. Um but we will talk about King Richard, which is the film we're going to talk about today. The Will Smith uh, Richard Williams biopic about the father of Venice and Serena Williams, and their rise to becoming the great tennis players of all time, and how their father was a big factor in all that. Um, the director did the director of this film also did a film this year called Joe Bell, which I saw, and I was not impressed by it. I thought it was okay. I thought I remember the lead performance in it being good, and visually it looked pretty nice. But I thought it was pretty stale in terms of a um, in terms of the in terms of what it was trying to do. It just didn't come off quite authentic. I thought it came off pretty stale. So I was concerned about that going into King Richard, and the other thing that made my concerns intensified was the runtime. It was 2.5 hours, 2.5 hours, and I was like, I don't know how that's gonna work. Um, so I was a little nervous going into watching King Richard, and I'm very happy to say that the movie works. I mean, there's small issues I have with it, but for what it is, it's solid. I mean, and it's not solid in the ways that you think. I mean, because this movie's been getting a lot of Oscar buzz for a certain thing, and we'll get get into that in a second. Um, but for me, the standout element of King Richard is the what is it? The direction. I think the direction is fairly solid in this film. Um, it, it it makes the elements surrounding it work. Like it makes the elements more investing, more engaging, more satisfying to watch. Like it boils down mainly to the direction. So I think that the direction is really what makes the movie work as a whole. And the atmosphere is very charming and very appealing. And there's a good level of consistency in this movie as well. Like there's not a like in Joe Bell, I felt that there was a lot of like lackluster elements, and it was very inconsistent at times. This one is the complete opposite. There's a lot of consistency in it, and um, like I said, with the direction, all the elements seem like that there's a purpose to be had with it, except for one, which we'll get into in a second. But yeah, I think the direction is really what really kept this movie afloat for me, and honestly made it solid. Um, and then you get to the performances. All around, I would say the performances are solid. I enjoy the kids. I enjoyed John Bernthal. And then we get to Will Smith, who has been getting a lot of Oscar buzz for this movie. And the best way I can describe Will Smith in this movie is that it's a performance that hinders on the charm of the performer, not the ability of them. Because Will Smith is a very charming person in real life, and as with his performances, he's very much like Tom Hanks. Like his charm is what makes his performances work, and it's the same thing here. It's just his charm is what's making the performance work. It's not that he's necessarily reaching any depths any or doing any subtle details or anything. I mean, there's some mannerisms and stuff that he does that I thought were pretty interesting, um, but it's more or less like Will Smith with less energy. You know, it's Will Smith being Will Smith, but if Will Smith um, was tired, you know, Like it was, that's basically what I felt that performance was. It wasn't any, it was a performance that worked within the parameters of the story, but it didn't reach any other heights from, for me anyway. Um, it was an absolutely fine performance. Like it was totally fine. It wasn't great nor was it terrible. It was just perfectly fine for what it was. And I'm just a little surprised that it's getting uh, all this attention, all this Oscar buzz. I'm pretty surprised. Um, but yeah, it's a fine performance. It's nothing great. It's nothing outstanding. It's just fine. It works for the story, and again, for me, great performances like Kristen Stewart and Spencer, like she goes above and beyond. I think that there's stuff that she does in that film where she reaches, like she's out of control in that film, in my opinion. Um, but with Will Smith here, it just he does what he needs to do. Where while Kristen Stewart does more than what is needed. I feel like she does put more effort, and that effort also pays off big time. Where here, I perhaps Will Smith did stuff, but it just doesn't. It's not really benefiting, much. It's just like I said, it's just Will Smith being Will Smith here. It's nothing It's not a drastic transformation or anything of the sorts. The makeup looks nice on him, but again, I don't know. Like it wasn't anything too great in my opinion in terms of a performance. He'll likely get nominated because it's the popular thing, um, but I didn't really like. I wasn't blown away by his performance. It was like any Will Smith performance in my opinion. The only reason why I think that this performance is more notable um, is I think that's because he's under solid direction. Um, and I think that's why a lot of people are loving his performance. It's because he's under solid direction. I don't think it's necessarily Will Smith. I think it's because of the director, um, which I've stated I think is the best thing about this movie. Um, but but yeah, Will Smith is totally fine. He's I mean I never found him to be a terrible actor. I just he's like a Tom Hanks. His charm is what makes his performances work a lot of times, not necessarily his ability as a performer. So um, there was one element about this movie that I did not really like. It was just a very minor critique, which was the passage of time. Like there comes a point where we jump ahead 3 years, and I just felt it was completely unnecessary. Narratively, I understand why they did it, but um, it in terms of benefits to characters, it's like completely non-existent. There's no reason for why we should be jumping 3 years when the characters are exactly the same. And I get from a story point of view why you would do that, but the characters still need to have evolved in some form or fashion after 3 years. There should have been some form of progression. That's why you do time jumps, to showcase progression or a de-evolution. Like you should be showing some form of growth, some form of development. And when the characters are exactly the same, literally their looks are exactly the same. Like to me, that time jump then is just kind of very unnecessary. And here I thought it was completely unnecessary. So, um, but beyond that, as I look at my notes, if I missed anything, um, I would say more about the director. What I think that why I think the movie works as well as it does, because I think this is a solid film. I really think that this is a solid movie. I know it sounds like I'm kind of sounding mediocre about it, but I actually did enjoy the movie a lot in some respects. Um, but mainly, I think it again boils down to the director because I think that he found a happy balance between the drama and the levity, um, and I also think that he found a really good pace for this movie because, like I said up front, there was that worry of it being, for 2.5 hours. I was worried that it was not going to justify itself, and it does because the director found a pace that was very suiting for it and very satisfying. Um, and uh, is there anything else? Oh yeah, the score. The score. I also really enjoyed the score. I found it to be very inviting and oddly enough provided more to the emotional center of the film. Um, and I thought it kind of was it, it invites the viewer to more of the depths that the story is trying to reach. Um, and the obvious complaint that I have, it's something that this movie could not avoid. Um, it is a very, very familiar story. I mean, you're not going to this movie uh, thinking like, oh, what's gonna happen? It's it's the problem with every sports drama. You know, it's just you can't avoid this type of narrative because all sports dramas or any sports biopic type stuff, they all fall under the same type of story, um, and it's it's pretty predictable. I mean, it's not a hard movie to figure out. Um, but that to me is not really a negative thing here because of solid direction, capable performances, really a charming atmosphere, and a resonant score. I I gotta be honest. I thought it was good. I thought King Richard was like occasionally moving, like very charming, or mostly charming. Uh, like I said, sometimes there was like um, the 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 familiarity sometimes is like sometimes the emotional connections are kind of diminished because of how familiar the story is. Like you're just like, okay, I mean, yeah, we're hitting the beats here, but it makes up for it a lot with like some uh, with it being a very motivating um, uh, and charming story. I think it does rise above its cliches, and I think it works well enough to keep you engaged and invested the whole way through. Um, like I said, it is a familiar story, but I think that you do find yourself entertained throughout it, and it's not because of the performances. I think it's mainly due to the direction, because I don't think this movie would work without the direction. Um, so, and yes, it is much better than Joe Bell. Much better than Joe Bell, much more consistent and much more resonant and much more uh, purposeful. Um, so I thought it was a solid film. I thought it was a solid film. I don't think it's anything like it's not in my top 10 favorites of the year or anything. Um, I wouldn't even say it's um, the movie. I wouldn't even say it's a tearjerker. A tearjerker. That I would give to Coda. Coda like just made me cry so much. Um, like it didn't hit. It didn't. I didn't like get emotion. Get how do I say it? Because I'm easy to make cry during movies. Um, and you know, King Richard was able to hit sometimes. Um, uh, for me, I didn't like cry watching King Richard, but I was getting kind of the eyes were getting glassy. Um, so, but I was like just a blubbering mess at the end of Coda. So, um, but for what it is, it's solid. It works. It's just one of those instances where it's like it's it's perfectly solid. I mean, it's I wouldn't even it's not great because like I said, it's a familiar story, but for what it is, it's solid. It's solid. There's no better word for it except solid and completely harmless. I mean, there's like the best comparison I can take from King Richard, weirdly enough, is A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. I don't know what it is. I mean, they're different stories, but they bear similar tones. In some respects, to a degree, like some similar characters. Like with Mr. Rogers and King Richard, they kind of have similar traits. Obviously, they're different in many respects. Um, like King Richard is a flawed character, which I appreciate. I like them showing how some of the flaws that he has. Um, but within those flaws, he is, you know, like the movie is basically like, you know, just showing you how great of a father Richard Williams was. And based on the movie, I mean, he even though he makes questionable decisions, it's all for good intentions, you know. There's all good reasons behind it. Um, so yeah, I thought it was a solid film. I thought it was a solid film, but I don't think it's Oscar worthy in any sense. It's just it's a good film to watch with the family. It's a good film to watch this Thanksgiving, in my opinion. It's a nice feel good piece, and you'll walk out happy. I think that's the most important thing that you can get out of King Richard is that you walk out happy and satisfied. So, um, so yeah, that's my thoughts on King Richard. So, what did you guys think about King Richard? Did you guys think it was good? Did you guys think it was bad? Did you guys think it was too melodramatic, or did you guys think it was justified in all areas? Do you guys think Will Smith was great? Do you think he deserves the Oscar, or do you think he's just okay, like I thought? You guys let me know in the comment section below, and that is it for my review, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and until then, I'll see you guys next time.